You're listening to another episode of Cloud and Clear, SADA's Cloud Transformation Podcast. I'm your host, Rocky Giglio, Global Director of Security here at SADA. And on with me today is Ram Varadarajan. And I probably just butchered that, even though I tried, Ram. I tried so hard. But you're Chairman and CEO of Acalvio. So glad to have you on, man. Excited to hear what you guys have been doing and talk a little bit more about Acalvio and some of the deception technology you're building. But I guess first and foremost, welcome to the show. And tell us a little bit about Acalvio. Like, what's your journey to get to this space of deception technology? Why do this now? And what are you trying to accomplish?
Thank you, Rocky. It's a pleasure to be here and with you and to meet your audience, the SADA customer base. The journey is actually quite simple. We are focused on the mission of defeating bad guys as they try to disrupt our commerce, our IP, and our critical infrastructure. And the world had spent a lot of time in trying to keep attackers out. And we seem to be still losing the battle because there are so many ways in. And so what we tried to do was to figure out how can we help enterprises defeat attackers once they cross the current perimeters defenses. So sort of building a motion detector for the enterprises. Find attackers quickly and precisely, and so that we can go on with our productive mission and curtail the attackers' objectives.
Yeah, I love it. I mean, it's such an almost impossible mission, right? Today, with just the advancements in technology, cloud scale, and the attackers themselves are getting more organized, right? They are well funded by nation states. So there's just so much that is kind of working against us as we try day in, day out to protect our environments, protect our data and users. So yeah, I think this is a much needed thing, right? We've got to kind of fight back, if you will, instead of just sitting here going, hey, well, there's nothing I can do. I'm going to be attacked, right? So I'm excited to learn a little bit more. So I guess tell us a little bit about what that means. What does it mean to be doing kind of offensive or deception dice technologies? Educate our audience a little bit here on what we're doing.
So you nailed it. The new normal is that a determined attacker will breach any perimeter defenses and reach machine one inside your enterprise. I mean, that's a given. That no matter how much training we do, how much we try to put up defenses, there are so many 0 days, so many administrative issues. AI is helping the attacker build even more 0 days to come back into the enterprise. So the new normal is that the attacker will breach your perimeter defenses. So what is new is that we have to do something active. Trying to stay passive will only teach the attacker new ways to attack us and conquer us, because the attacker learns with every passive defense that we put up. What Acalvio is trying to do is to change the equation by changing the landscape that the attacker sees. So we put new artifacts, we introduce new artifacts into the customer's environment in a very cost-effective, clever, non-intrusive way. New artifacts could be new compute elements, storage elements, keys, data, identities, whatever they are. So we introduce these new elements in such a way that the attacker cannot figure out what's real and what's fake. And hence, as they meander through the network, which they have to do to find, laterally move to find objects of interest, we improve our chances of finding them and eradicating them. So reducing mean time to detect, reducing dwell time, these are important. One other point interesting to make is that we want to do this without having any prior knowledge of the attacker's tactics, because the attacker, like you said, is changing tactics all the time. So if you look for particular tactics, we will be defeated because the attacker will change those tactics. So, 0 days and whatever else that the attacker is bringing. So our solution must work in when the attacker is bringing new weapons to the game. So we have to be robust to that. We have to be future-proofed in some sense. And that's what we're trying to do by changing the landscape and providing this active defense solution to customers.
Yeah, it totally makes sense. And what you've mentioned, putting in some systems and network traffic, whatever it is that's false, right? But it causes the attackers to look at those things, look for easy entry into our systems, and then to your point, it changes the behavior. It changes it so that they we don't have to worry about the latest AI technology that they're leveraging, or if it's a different nation state with different attack vectors. The deception's there. They're going to go after those assets and hopefully fall into the trap. So honeypotting's been around for a while. How is Alcavio different than this idea of honeypotting? Right? What makes Alcavio different from just saying, "Hey, I'm going to stick this honeypot system or this trap out there, this key that's sitting in my code that I know is bad, and if I ever see it, show up, I'm going to alert on it." How is what you guys are doing different from kind of that traditional honeypot method?
Excellent question. Deception has been around for ages. Nature invented it, so we can't take any credit for inventing deception. And deception has been used in the military for ages. World War II has great examples, right? Even now in the recent Ukraine battle, there was a recent report about how we had toy tanks being bombed by the Russians because they couldn't figure them out to be different than real ones. So, but in IT, and deception has been very poorly used. It's been relegated to PhD dissertations and things like that, or very few shops which have deep expertise to stitch these by hand, because it's very cost prohibitive to actually introduce new decoys into the environment and things like that in any kind of substantial density, right? So who's going to pay for all these new artifacts? Who's going to pay the licenses? Who's going to manage them? People have trouble managing real things. Now we're introducing fake things. So our whole intellectual property and the critical acclaim that we have had is all about making deception operational and making it easy to use and easy to deploy, while retaining all the effectiveness of the deception. So that's what the IP is about, and that's why Google invested in us. That's why we were an RSA Sandbox finalist, and we have had great recognition from Gartner and others. And to your point about deception is intuitively all of us believe that deception is a good thing, but it's now recognized by MITRE, by Gartner. Gartner, in fact, calls it the future of cyber defense, moving target defense. And the National Defense Authorization Act from the U.S. Congress last December actually mandated certain parts of the government into using deception-based technologies for defense. So it's becoming really mainstay, and the only real weapon to find and deal with new attackers, new tactics in an effective way.
Yeah, and you made a whole bunch of stuff there that I want to drill into a little bit. So first, you mentioned it's difficult to do honeypotting really at scale, and I think that's important to understand. Is if you think about our traditional method of honeypot, it is usually something like I put some bad code out in a repo, or I put a key in there that I know I'm not really using in production, and I look for usage of that. And while that's great, it's not really a full deception, right? It's just like super simple. I drop some code that's static. One of the things the hackers are, our attackers today are getting better at is recognizing those things, right? And using AI to recognize that and say, hey, wait a second, this key showed up here, but nobody ever uses it. So don't touch it, and so they have now ways to say, hey, that's a deception, that's a honeypot. Don't step into it, right? And so I think it's really important to ask and help our listeners understand how is it that you guys are able to do this deception at scale? What are you doing to these systems that you're creating, these Active Directory accounts, all this false stuff that you're putting out there? How are you able to kind of get that out there and then keep it looking like something an attacker wants to go at?
Yeah, awesome. This is where the Google partnership also comes in, because we have a platform that we can leverage in order to make this deception happen. So let me give a simple example. So the first things that we want to do is to not burden the customer by introducing new elements physically into their environment. So think of it this way. In your home, you may have 20 artifacts on the network. Most of us don't know if there's an attacker running around your house. But if our internet service provider could make 4 more things appear in our home, like my Google, thermostat, or my file server, my daughter's laptop, these are not physically there, but these are occupy addresses which look like they are there. Then an attacker running around the network might play with these things, and we'll be able to find them without inconveniencing real users because they don't even see these assets around. So we have taken that same concept to actually say, let's create a deception farm in the Google Cloud from which we can project these artifacts into customer environments. Whether they be cloud environments or even on-prem environments, it doesn't matter. So we will be able to project new entities into a customer's environment without having to physically place them there. And we run real copies of these things on the Google Cloud Deception Center, if you will. And therefore, all the fingerprintability and things like that are erased because we are actually running a true copy. And this deception palette can be customized in the field. So if you're protecting a hospital versus you're protecting a high-tech company, the kinds of artifacts that you're expected to see in the network will be different. So just putting vanilla things into the environment doesn't really capture attackers, because attackers, like we all said, are very savvy to what they expect in the environment. So we can now customize the deception palette in the field by uploading golden images of entities that we expect to see in the customer's environment and project them from the Google Cloud onto the customer environments. We also do something else to conserve resources. So for example, we have technology that allows us to make one instance in the deception farm look like many instances in the customer's environment. So we don't have to run a one-for-one. And we can even, through a concept of fluid deception, light up the instance in the Google Cloud only when the attacker is actually mucking with us. So if an attacker is just sending a message saying, "How are you doing?" that message can be answered without having a full instance actually running. But when the attacker says, "Let me log into that Windows server or their application or that SQL instance," then we can actually light that up in there. So this dynamicity that we can leverage the Google Cloud for allows us to do this cost effectively and provide the best results of liveness and relevance and things like that, so the attacker cannot run a litmus test from somewhere else.
Yeah, very cool. That's one of those things that's impossible for us to do day in and day out, right? If you're a security practitioner, your plate's already full with all the things you've got to respond to and handle. So then going and trying to do something like that, where you guys have a tool that's doing this automatically, it's making it easy to integrate, and then even better than that, it's on this global scale architecture and behind it at GCP, but then also integrated into the security tools that Google provides. So talk a little bit about that. You did a big announcement with Google here, a month or two ago now, around the integrations you have with Chronicle and SEC. So tell us a little bit about that. What are customers seeing, and what can they expect from that integration?
Yeah, so the whole idea is to make this easy and usable for customers. So our goal is to appear like a first-party integration into the Google environment. So we make it really, really easy for customers to use Acalvio Active Defense, if you will, both for protecting identities, for protecting networks, whatever it is that they choose to protect for their environment. So we've integrated into the command center, so it's easy to actually add deception into the individual subnets that one wants to protect. We are in the Google Marketplace. We're also leveraging cool technologies like Service Connect and things like that Google provides to make it such that no software needs to be added to the customer's environment. The customer's VPC just connects with the managed service that we provide, and it's easy to use, easy to scale, easy to manage, if you will. And so that's and all the results, like you said, are sent over to Chronicle, so we can collect those information there, do the analysis, do IR, things like that. We can also do clever things like, we have good awareness of where the customer, where the attacker is. So if the attacker meanders from machine 1 to 2 to 3 before touching a decoy, then we of course know that 3 is bad because 3 touched a decoy. But we can go to the data that we collected in Chronicle, leverage other data that Google is collecting about things that are happening in the various nodes, and see what was happening at 3, and be able to look back and say, this event from 3 should have happened only because 2 talked to 3 to do this. So we are able to connect those back, so we can look back and draw attacker graphs to actually figure out where the ingress point was, so that we can take corrective actions more holistically, if you will, and things like that. So all that is possible because of this tight integration into Google Cloud.
Yeah, I love it. And that stuff all makes it easier for us to integrate too. Not okay, that's the wrong word because we're talking about the integrations into Google, but it makes it easier for the security practitioners that are listening in, right? For your SOC teams to take advantage of these things, because it's going to be into tools that they're already using. The alerts are there. If you haven't seen the article, we should definitely link that for those that are tuning in, because it's very well integrated. It's easy to see that this is something that you should be looking at and should be doing inside the environment, whether you've got the deception technology deployed already, or if you don't, right, and getting that alert that, hey, there's an area here that's running and potentially exposed because you don't have Acalvio already enabled, and capturing these bad actors or potential bad actors. So yeah, very cool.
One important point there, sorry to jump in, is that these are high fidelity alerts, right? I mean, so this is not a suspicion that something might be going on. You have to spend 3 or 4 hours trying to figure this out. Yeah. Nobody should be mucking with the deception artifact, right? Whether it's an identity that somebody is using to escalate privileges, or trying to move laterally, or talking to a decoy, whatever it is. All those things can if anybody is mucking with the deception artifact, they are definitely either totally malicious or violating policy, or whatever it is. In either case, they need to be stopped. So these are high fidelity alerts that can be acted upon right away inside the SOC. And so that's an important point.
Yeah, super important point, because you don't want to have, I got all these alerts. Now I've got more alerts that I got to go investigate,
Exactly.
Right? We're already fatigued. We don't need more to do. So that's super important. Yeah, love it. Yeah. Ram, so tell me a little bit about kind of why you guys chose Google Cloud. There's so many options out there today. What made you choose Google for this? And then how do our customers get started with you guys?
2 things. We wanted to make sure that we provided a comprehensive solution that meets the customer, whether they're in the cloud or whether they're on-prem, whether in a data center, or wherever they might be. So we wanted to have a platform from which we could deliver services to all places where customers were. And we have even third parties that are actually reselling our solution into these marketplace, into customer environments. So for example, in OT environments, we have a managed service. We have a partnership with Honeywell. This service runs on Google Cloud, and Honeywell resells that solution to customers. These are all publicly announced relationships. We have Verizon reselling the solution into enterprises and so on. And of course, we sell from the Google Marketplace. We sell with our own sales forces, and we sell with Google's sales resources and SADA and others as well, which will come to in a second. So that's important that we were able to find an environment that we can use to scale to reach all of these customers. The second thing is there is an acute awareness and importance for deception inside the Google environment. GCP rates this very highly. The Mandiant acquisition now adds incredible strength to Google's ability to execute security protection for their customers. In fact, Kevin Mandia at the RSA conference talked about the importance of honey tokens and how they can actually defeat apex attackers. There are many stores inside the Google Cloud where we could introduce fake artifacts, IAM credentials, things like that, to actually snare attackers as they're trying to escalate privileges or move around. In fact, Tim Crothers just made a presentation on the future of cyber defense using deception at the recent B-Sides conference in Augusta. So important executives at Google are already talking about the leveraging deception. So I think we have a mind meld, if you will, on what's important in the marketplace and what's next that's more than static defenses for customers. So we are in sync on an approach to better protect customers. And Google has the right kinds of capabilities, like I said, these new capabilities to make it easier for a service provider to connect into the customer's VPC without installing software that process service connect, things like that. All these things are very, very important capabilities that we find useful. And of course, Google is an investor in Acalvio because they actually saw the capabilities early on as well. So there are many, many reasons to actually partner with Google forcefully, and hence Google Cloud. So we are also working to make sure that we are FedRAMP ready and for environments that require those kinds of extra certifications. We are also, fully CIS2 compliant, STIG4 compliant, all the kind of hygiene. So we make all that possible, and and the Google Cloud platform also has the right certifications to allow us to leverage that. So all in all, that works very well for us.
Yeah, no, that's great. And those are all good things, and it's exciting to hear that the work you guys have already done and being ahead of this motion where we really do need to lean more on deception technologies to provide better defense. So that's great. Looking forward. I guess the next question is, what's next for you guys? What are you working on now that you want to tell the audience about, if anything? And then if they want to try you out, how do they get started?
There are lots of things going on. We are extending our deception protection to Kubernetes environments, things like that. So there are more and more environments in which deception can be a very useful tool. And it's easy for customers to try. They can go to the Google Marketplace and try Acalvio immediately, or they can, of course, work with their SADA representatives to go make this happen. Google is also available. Acalvio is also available on CrowdStrike and other such partner portals. And the service that protects CrowdStrike customers runs on GCP. So they could be availing the opportunity to run Acalvio through many places. And of course, you can go to acalvio.com and request help, and we will be able to service them from there as well.
Yeah, great. Ram, thank you so much for joining me today. It's been a pleasure to have you on the show. Great to hear what you guys are doing with this deception technology and kind of leading the way here, helping our customers provide better defense to their organizations and protect their users and data. So just thank you for all that you guys are doing. And again, thanks for joining me on the show. This has been great and very informative. And I'm looking forward to working with you guys more in the future. So thanks again, Ram.
Thank you. Enjoyed the conversation and look forward to working together.
Thank you for listening to Cloud and Clear. Check the show notes for links to this week's topics. And don't forget to connect with us on Twitter @Cloud and Clear and our website, sada.com. Be sure to rate and review the show on your favorite podcast app.